Alberta. It's Frank Severely Normal. Now, I've been making some videos and posting them to YouTube. This is the original graph I made, and I made this graph the day after Rachel Notley came out and said oil was down and unemployment's up. And she used little graphs to show it, and that's when I made this graph. And now this graph is accurate from the years to scale, from the years 2003 all the way to the years 2020. I originally made this graph to show you the effect of the removal of the Alberta Healthcare Premium Fund, but today I'm going to use this graph to refute Derek Fildebrand of the Alberta Liberty movement assertion that the best thing that happened in Alberta was Ralph Klein's government reducing the taxation, the provincial taxation, income tax on Albertans to a flat 10%. And he said that's a good thing, and I'm going to show you that it's not. So, now, when I made this graph, it's to scale to here, 2004, pardon me. Now this covers the previous 30 years of Tory rule. If this were spread out, it would go down another 20 feet. And all those scandals would be hung on it. The ones that were talked about in Mr. Monsieur Rahall's book about prairie boys and banksters. Anyway, back to Mr. Fildebrand. Now, Mr. Fildebrand, who in 2009 was the Alberta Taxpayer Federation, head of the Alberta Taxpayer Federation, he reported, Mr. Fildebrand, that we were $2.8 billion in the hole. Now, in 2004, Ralph reported that we were out of debt, which wasn't true, but the mechanisms were in place to bring us out of debt by 2013. So, this graph is not extended here because I was only concerned with these years, with the removal of the Alberta Healthcare Premium Tax. So, if you were to extend this line up here a bit to 2001, it would go up like this. This happened in the previous 30 years. So in 2001, we were pulling, things were starting to look better, and business was good. And in one of my previous videos, I said it, I stated it, and I'll restate it. When you have high economy, when the economy is good and you're pulling in good revenues, if you lower the tax rate to a 10%, for that period that the economy is good, which it was until 2009, you have a net loss in revenue on your income tax file. Now, that only helps the people who are doing well, because they have to put less in. Now, the people who are on the lower end of the economic scale aren't doing so well because taxes have to go up to cover the shortfall. So those taxes that should have gone in if we would have kept the graduated income tax, instead were banked in the bank accounts of the upper classes. Now, I'll argue this with anyone. And in 2004, Ralph Klein then said, we're not going to collect. In 2003, in an election ploy, he said, well, in 2004, we won't collect the old people's taxes anymore. And then in 2008, Mr. Stelmach, being held up as responsible government, said, we're not going to collect any of your health care premiums anymore. That gave us a loss of $1.2 billion a year to $7.2 billion. Now, at the time that they mentioned that, we were already $2.8 billion in the hole, as reported by Derek Fildebrand of the Alberta Taxpayer Federation. And this is where we ended up, $7.8 billion in the hole. Now, this graph factors in the loss of revenue from the lost premiums, uncollected premiums, from all the people who moved to the province in those 6 years. It also factors in an interest rate, because as Derek Fildebrand of the Alberta Taxpayers Federation at the time said, we were already in the hole. So we would have negative interest. We would have to pay interest. Everybody knows that. If you're in the hole, you have to pay the interest. So the total effects, and here's the total effects of this on our finances, was $8.04 billion. Now I added in the $1.5 billion that I estimate we lost by not collecting any old people's health care premiums. So our total losses on the three moves the government did to remove money from our treasury was the 2001 flat tax, elimination of the healthcare premiums for seniors, elimination of all healthcare premiums, which led us to $9.54 billion in the hole the day the illustrious late Mr. Prentice did a poor acting job and told us to look in the mirror. Now, I've got a lot of videos on YouTube, and if you really want to know the truth about what's happened here in Alberta, and also what we can do to fix it, working together. I'm Frank. I'm severely normal. Have a nice day, Alberta.